The story begins with a man named Frank Morris, who meets a dreaded criminal known as Alcatraz. They are sent to a high-security prison called El Cates. This prison was located in the middle of the sea. It was built on an island from where no one had been able to escape to date. The prisoners did not escape, but Frank did. Till date, he was famous for escaping from jail. He had escaped from several prisons. To date, no one had heard of an escape from Catra. No one had even thought of it, let alone attempted it. As soon as he reached the jail, the first thing that Frank did was conduct a thorough search. After that, he was arrested and sent to his cell, where he had to spend the rest of his life. The next day, during breakfast, Frank met an old prisoner named Litmus, who had caught a mouse and kept it as his pet. During their conversation, Frank noticed another prisoner named Wolf, who was publicly teasing him. However, Frank ignored him and continued his conversation with Litmus. Shortly after, Frank was taken to a briefing room where Verdon, a prison officer, threatened him, saying, "Don't try to run away from here. I don't know how many like you have come and gone, but no one could escape." During this time, Frank found a nail cutter in his room. He knew that even a small thing could be of great help in a prison like El Cates. That's why Frank returned to his cell and hid the nail cutter inside his Bible. A little while later, during a group shower, Wolf came to Frank again and started harassing him. But this time, Frank was not in the mood to ignore him. He grabbed Wolf and started beating him. This behavior built Frank's reputation inside the prison. After that, no one dared to pick unnecessary fights with him. Slowly, Frank took over the prison library. It became his second home, where he met the prison librarian, English. English was imprisoned for life in Alcatraz and had no desire to get out. He had set his mind on books and was knowledgeable in both English and French. He had read many books on history. During this time, Frank also befriended a prisoner named Doc, who was a wonderful artist. He spent most of his time painting. Doc believed that in a dangerous prison like Alcatraz, a man might go mad, but painting had kept his mind stable. One evening, a guard caught Frank working in the carpentry department, where inmates had to work with their hands for 15 minutes every hour. But for Frank, troubles were about to increase. One day, when all the prisoners were out of their cells, Wolf returned once again. This time, he had a weapon and intended to attack Frank. In the nick of time, Doc warned Frank, and Frank managed to stop the attack using his jacket. A fight broke out between Wolf and Frank. When the guards tried to stop them, Wolf attacked a guard too. As a result, both of them were sent to solitary confinement in D Block. Solitary confinement was a cage where no prisoner wanted to go. Now, Frank had to spend time there, trying to keep himself sane. He was very angry for 2 weeks. When he was finally freed, Litmus welcomed him with a note, which he delivered through his pet rat. After Frank's return, he befriended his neighbor, Charlie, who was serving a sentence for grand theft. Charlie told Frank that he had attempted to cross the border but was caught. This mistake had worsened his crime. The next day, Verdon made a surprise visit to the jail. During his visit, he saw a painting in Doc's cell. At first, he liked it, but the next second, he ordered all of Doc's paintings to be removed. This decision broke Doc completely, as painting was his only solace in prison. Frank tried to console him, saying, "It's just a painting. We have to live here." But Doc couldn't recover from the shock. One day, while working, he cut off 3 of his fingers. As soon as this happened, the prisoners started rebelling. The guards immediately called for the doctors. On the other side, Frank quietly watched Doc suffer. That same night, while sitting in his cell, Frank noticed something falling from the vent onto a cockroach. This made him realize that the vent might be a possible escape route. English told Frank that Verdun had ordered all of Doc's paintings to be removed because he didn't like his portrait. The next time Frank had a meal, he met two brothers, John and Clarence, who had known him from a previous prison. During their conversation, they talked about how escaping from El Cates was impossible because it was surrounded by water. But this conversation planted an idea in Frank's mind. He wanted to make history by becoming the first person to escape from this prison. That night, Frank used the stolen nail cutter to scrape the cement around the vent grill in his cell. As soon as he heard the guard's footsteps, he would hide the nail cutter inside his Bible and pretend to read. Slowly, his hard work started paying off. The cement began to weaken. However, removing the cement with a small nail cutter was taking too long and injuring his hands. The next morning, he told his group about the problem. They agreed that they needed a bigger and more powerful tool. Frank then noticed his spoon. He rubbed it on his shoe to make it dirty and called a guard, complaining about the dirty spoon. Other prisoners did the same, distracting the guards. In the process, Frank managed to steal an extra spoon. He melted it down and combined it with a coin to create a new, more effective tool. That night, while Frank was scraping the cement, a guard came close. Luckily, English intervened and distracted him, allowing Charlie to alert Frank in time. Frank quickly hid all the tools. They were safe this time, but Frank realized he couldn't completely depend on Charlie. The next challenge was removing the screws inside the grill. Frank secretly crafted a new tool while working in the carpentry shop. He needed to smuggle it past the metal detector. To do this, he held a rusty piece of iron in his hand. When the metal detector beeped, he handed the rusted piece to the guard while keeping the real tool hidden in his shoe. Once back in his cell, Frank used the tool to open the grill. A network of pipelines lay ahead, which could be their escape route. However, they needed a more elaborate plan. Frank and his group decided to create fake heads with real hair to trick the guards. Each member collected materials. John got hair from the barber shop, Charlie arranged paint, and Frank collected newspapers. They crafted fake heads and placed them on their pillows at night. They also built fake grills to replace the real ones while escaping. One night, Frank decided to test the grill. However, when he reached the iron door leading to freedom, he realized he couldn't open it alone. Meanwhile, a guard making rounds grew suspicious of Frank's cell but didn't find anything unusual. The next day, Charlie and John decided to proceed with the plan. That night, the group cut the iron door using a stolen fan blade. The noise was loud, but the guards ignored it. The path to freedom was now open. On Tuesday night, Frank, John, and Clarence executed their plan. Charlie, at the last moment, became too nervous and backed out. The three of them climbed the roof, dodged searchlights, and crossed the prison walls. They inflated a makeshift raft and sailed away. The next morning, the guards discovered their escape. Alarms blared. Despite a massive search using helicopters, no trace of them was found. Some believed they drowned, but Verdun knew the truth: they had escaped. This is a true story. Frank Morris became famous as the genius who broke out of El Cates. A year-long search found no bodies, proving that they had indeed made it. If you liked this video, like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.